Surf's Up, fam. I'm your host, Corey Shane Brown. It is Surf's Up intention to resonate with listeners of the San Diego community and communities beyond by sharing the stories of the creators and entrepreneurs we've met in order to discover the keys to unlocking our potential and inspiring people on how to develop themselves in order to live a more balanced life. This will in turn raise the community and ultimately inspire listeners to live a life of personal sovereignty and financial freedom. I would like to thank you for dropping in with us and welcome to Surf's Up Podcast. Once upon a time, he ran a hospitality group opening restaurants all across America. At a certain point, he realized money and everything that drives the ego wasn't the answer. Now he is a performance coach of Dream Mason Coaching and Consulting, the host of the Dream Mason podcast, a producer for many other podcasts, and the author of Fictional Authenticity. Thanks for dropping in.
What's up, man?
What's up, buddy? How you doing today?
I'm good.
It's a little rough intro there.
No, it's all good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. So I wanted to start with kind of your origin story back when you were, starting the restaurants, and you were from New York, I think you told me before.
So I'm from LA originally, but I moved to New York before the book existed, before I was a podcast host, before I was a coach. I was opening restaurants. I did that in Los Angeles, and then I moved to New York to run a restaurant group.
Wow.
It was fun, man. It was fun. It was really fun in my 20s. When I was in my 20s, and sometimes I'd be bartending in Hermosa Beach or Manhattan Beach or Venice Beach.
Did you start at the bottom of the ladder in the
first job
in the restaurant industry?
So first job,
dishwasher.
Not
That's where I started.
Bottom, but I washed a lot of dishes running restaurants. Right?
Yeah.
Do what you got to do when the shit hits the fan. So I actually didn't mind washing dishes. It was like kind of like calming and relaxing. Yeah. Now, I didn't have to do it every day and day in and day out, right? I'd have to do it to help out my team.
It's weird because doing it for so long, it used to like bother me, but now when I catch myself doing dishes at the sink, it's like a meditation.
Yeah, totally. You don't have to it's like mindless. But I started when I was 14. I used to ride my bike or rollerblade back in the day this was in LA, to the mall, and I worked at Haagen-Dazs, and I would scoop ice cream. That was my first restaurant job. And I just wanted money, man. It was like summertime. I told my parents I wanted a job, and you're 14, you'll take what you can get, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then at 16, 17, I got a job at, Islands, the restaurant group.
Yeah.
So I got a job as a host at Islands. So you were like a busboy / host. I did that for basically
great burgers.
It's
I like them.
I like Islands. It's not my favorite, but I think dude, I got the job there. I think this is the best advice. If you're like a teenager and you want to make money and you're not going to sell drugs or do something illegal, my advice is go to a place that you like and work there.
Yeah.
Right? I liked going to Islands when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I got a job there. It was it made it fun. It wasn't.
That was kind of like me. So Bubs here in PB is a Virginia Tech bar, and I'm from next to Blacksburg.
Okay.
And so we used to go watch the games there. And when I broke my leg snowboarding years ago, and Sports Leg couldn't support me coming back into it. They couldn't give me the hours. Yeah. So I needed to go find a second job. And I was like, I'm going to go work at a place that I feel comfortable, feel at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I totally feel you.
It doesn't feel like work. It's easy. And then it's all I made friends there, and we're all in our late teens, 20s.
Yeah.
But then I was a waiter and a bartender, and by the time I was in my early 20s, I was training the bartenders, training the servers. And then at 25, I was working for a different restaurant group, and they were like, "You want to help us open a restaurant?" So at 25, I got my first opportunity to help open a restaurant. And the next thing that I knew, I was the only one there from that training team, except for the two chefs. They sent everybody back to LA. We were in Northern California, and I'm 25 years old. I knew what I was doing. I knew how to work in a restaurant, but these chefs basically took me under their wing, and they're like, "We're going to teach you the process, the organization, the structure, how you do this, and how you can keep doing it and replicate it over and over again." So that was my first time at 25, basically going, "Oh, this could be a career. This isn't just a way to make money and have fun."
Yeah, exactly. So you eventually worked your way up the ladder and you became a manager, I'm guessing?
So it's kind of cool. I got to kind of skip the become a manager process, because next
nice.
thing, I'm running I basically knew how this restaurant that I worked at ran because I just worked there. And when
you work your way up from the bottom, you know it better than anybody.
So yeah, and this wasn't at Islands, but this was like a mom and pop that was growing really quick, and the people who were above me just like it didn't work out for them. And so I got this opportunity. It was like, hey, do you want to like do this? It's like you get thrown in on the spot, and you either make it work or you don't. And I had these two chefs that basically had opened hundreds of restaurants, and they were like, we got you. You have like a good attitude. You got good energy. Your temperament is perfect for this. And so they taught me like how to write manuals, how to do HR, like all the behind the scenes stuff that you don't see. And then I basically just had to take how I knew how to run this concept and then teach the people of the restaurants we were opening. Yeah. Which was kind of easy because I had awesome teammates. So I would go back to the restaurant that I started at, and I'd like take the people that were good at working there, and I'd be like, okay, you're going to train the servers. You're going to train, the hosts or whatever. And then we'd sit down and we'd mock up like how to do it. So I didn't have to, I just got the whole thing, but then I used other people's brilliance to create the systems. Yeah. And then we would go and we'd open restaurants and we'd train more people. And then it was just like a replicatable system. So I basically was like training managers, and I had never been a manager. Yeah. I just knew how the restaurant was supposed to run right. So I figured it out. And then at like 28, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. I was like over it. And so then I actually started managing places.
Was there anything in particular, or were you just, what do you mean by over it? Like, was there anything in particular that happened that kind of like landed you into switching gears?
There's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of bullshit that comes with working in like corporate groups. And for some people, I think that's great. Like some people like structure, rigidity, like politicking and corporate like stuff. I don't. And the games, like getting raises and the games you'd have to play. And I didn't like love, let's just say, I don't like to talk bad about people from the past. But like I didn't love the way some of the things were working in that company. And it didn't seem like it was changing, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This doesn't feel good. Like this doesn't vibe with who I am anymore. Yeah. And we shouldn't be unhappy. Like life is short, you can get hit by a bus tomorrow, and it's like, do you want to have wasted the time doing something you didn't like, or do you want to go do something? So I quit, and then next thing I knew, I was like running beach bars in like Venice Beach. And that was around the time where, same thing, I'd get frustrated with all the nonsense of like management. Yeah. So if you think about restaurants, who mostly works in restaurants? Like, especially in like Southern California.
Young people that are just out of college or still in college.
Or actors, musicians. Yeah. Right?
Someone to support their dream.
Well, yeah. And most people don't want to work in the restaurants. Yeah. Now, if we were in like Iowa.
Some people do, though.
Some people do. No, some people I liked it. But if we were in like Iowa, working at a restaurant is like what you do. You're not trying to be like an actor, right? Yeah. But in Los Angeles, it was super frustrating.
You're an actor waiting tables.
Well, you're just waiting. Yeah, you're waiting. You're hoping. So you don't actually. A lot of actors, I think, just didn't want to be there. Like they wanted to be doing something else, which I get, and it's respect.
Creates a bad atmosphere at work.
So I think as the
very negative. I used to work in a bar that was like that. Yeah. It's just like no one just wanted to be there, and we had a sweet gig. And
so you're in charge, right? You're running stuff, and you're supposed to be trying to like create something really good. And a lot of your team doesn't necessarily want to be there.
They're just not motivated.
So I think like I would get over that, and then I'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna go bartend, and I'd like quit. I'd go get a bartending job on the beach. But and I basically did this until I was like 30. And then at 30, I got a call from a boss who was like, hey, I need somebody who knows how to do like a former boss who was like, I need somebody who knows how to do everything. Yeah. And I got this thing in New York, and I want you to come out, and basically I can only hire one person. So I need somebody who can do like all the facets of a restaurant business and help me build the team. And I basically picked up, like left all my shit, moved to New York City in a month.
Nice. Yeah. It's cool when you switch gears. I switched gears when I was 20 and dropped out of college and moved here. And it literally was like 3 months from the phone call that my friend said he had like an extra room to like I moved back in with my parents, saved money for like 3 months, and then got on a plane. And it was like, I want to start a life there. And so I didn't want to go through 4 years of school to get money to eventually move to a beach that I wanted to live at. I was like, I just want to go live at the beach now, start from the bottom and, maybe go to school later or whatever. And so transitioning, at which point did like personal development come into your life? Did you start listening to podcasts, reading books? Like, when did that grab you?
Man,
Was it?
Well, I'm like, I don't even know if there were podcasts. Like when I,
Yeah.
it's like at this point, when did the first iPhone?
Did you get into personal development
no.
when you
So it's weird. So
were still working in the bars and stuff?
Not really. So it's weird. So it's an interesting. I think it got dripped into me. So when I was in college, I would say I didn't want to go to college. I went to college because people say you're supposed to go to college, right?
Yeah.
So I wasted a lot of money and a lot of time because I never used it. Yeah, maybe you could say what it did for me, but I was like, I just did it because that's what your parents say you're supposed to do. And that was, I think, if I could go back, I don't know if I would have done that again, But after, I remember in college, I was like depressed. Like college wasn't fun for me. I didn't want to be there. I wanted to be doing other things, and I didn't really know how to support myself. So I didn't know what to do in that situation. But I remember at that time, my aunt and uncle and my mom would like give me these like CDs. Like everything was CDs and DVDs back then.
Yeah.
And this was around like 2000. I was in college from 2000 to 2004. And I would put these CDs on when I was like taking a shower or getting ready in the morning. And these CDs were basically, I don't know if you know like Law of Attraction.
Yeah, of course.
So it was like Law of Attraction stuff.
Have you seen What the Bleep?
Yeah. Yep. I saw What the Bleep like
Joe Dispenza.
I saw What the Bleep when it came out.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know even when that was. It was like probably like 98 or something. But I didn't get what I was listening to back then, but I would listen to it because it made me feel good.
Yeah.
And it would like take me out of that.
It resonated
sadness.
with you.
Something resonated.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was, but it was better than what was going on in my own head.
Yeah.
So I would put them on. And then there was no real personal development until it was like that for like a little bit in college and then nothing.
Yeah.
And then when I got to New York and I started reading a little bit because I'd be on the subway a lot. And first it started with fiction, and then all of a sudden it was like, man, I'm wasting all this time like, reading fiction or playing games on my phone.
Yeah. I had a point like that too, where it was like video games and stuff, and I'm just like, nonfiction and like documentaries and all that stuff started to, it was like, it's so much more interesting because it's real. And it most of the time, besides like some science fiction, but like real life and reality is even stranger than any fiction could be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like there's nothing. I think it's important to say there's nothing wrong with these things.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
There's nothing wrong
of course.
with like.
Of course not.
But what I think what's important.
But for growth.
Well, not even that. Like, it depends on what you want. And like, what I was doing, playing games on the subway, reading some fiction books, like watching a lot of TV, watching a lot of sports, like running these restaurant groups. Like I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
I wasn't depressed. Like I didn't need to be medicated.
Yeah.
I didn't need, like there was nothing wrong.
But you're just consuming.
I would know. I was like a flat line.
Yeah.
It was just like.
Well, I'm saying like you're just consuming media that it's not doing anything for you.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah. And I was just like, my life was like a flat line, and
you're bored.
I was bored. I was unmotivated. I was like, what's the point of all this? Yeah. I would be frustrated. It would just like live for the weekends.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, I got to get more money. If I get more money, it'll solve my problems. If I get a better, hotter girl, it'll solve my problems. Oh, I don't like my life. Let me just drink it off tonight. Yeah. Like this was and I think the thing that created personal development, like really created it, was I was sitting at a table in Costa Rica with my family. I don't know if have you ever been to Costa Rica?
No, that's actually, right before COVID hit in January, I got my passport and I was ready to go to Argentina this December, and I wanted to go to Costa Rica this year, and possibly I had a friend that was going to take me to India, and then COVID hit, and so
crazy stuff.
But happens. Costa Rica is on my hit list for sure.
I don't know why, but crazy stuff happens to people in Costa Rica. Like I've heard this story from so many people about like.
I've heard it's a magical place.
Yeah, and I don't know whatever you want to believe, but like I hear stories all the time, and for me that was what it was. I was sitting at a table with my whole family, and I can like picture it. I'm sitting like this, my girlfriend at the time is sitting right next to me. I have like my cousin across from me, my mom, my dad over here, my aunt, my uncle. I remember this super clearly, and my cousin leaves the table And she comes back to the table and she says, hey, can we all say what we're grateful for?
Yeah.
And everybody starts going. And in my life at that point, gratitude, like, fuck that. I'm not interested in any of that.
So we were at your sister,
my cousin.
Your cousin.
My cousin. We're sitting here. I can like see it in my mind, right? So she gets up, she comes back. She's like, what's everybody grateful for? Let's change the energy of the family right now, basically. And at the time, I was the kind of person who you would have said, like, what are you grateful for? And I would have said fucking bitches, alcohol. I would have said some nonsense. Like, I would have not taken it seriously. I would have blown it over. I would have made fun of it. I just like would have been a dick, basically, just trying to like use humor to deflect lack of depth. And for whatever reason, this time though, when it got to me, like I really believe, like, I don't, if you believe in God, if you believe in the universe, whatever you want to believe in, whatever it is, like punched me right in the nose. And I split open, like my eyes, I started bawling. I remember, like she was sitting next to me and she's looking at me like slack-jawed. My family's all staring at me like, what just happened? I'm completely like sobbing, can't talk. And as I gather myself, I'm finally like, I'm so grateful for you guys, for all of you, for love, for my health, for all of that. My family's like, I have 2 parents, that we can afford like to be in Costa Rica, healthcare, all the things, all the real things that 99% of the world would kill for.
Yeah.
And I have all of it and I'm appreciative of none of it. And all I want is like hotter girls, more money, better car, better job, all this egotistical bullshit that up until that point was never giving me anything, just it was always like the next thing, the more next goal, it was just like massive consumption with no satisfaction, no fulfillment. That moment, I said to my ex, when we get back to New York, things are going to be different. And she's like, what are you talking? Like, she was fine, right? Like this was my journey. And I was like, I got to change things. So I got back to New York. I quit watching TV. Like I used to DVR everything. I used to watch every basketball game.
I remember DVR.
Dude, I used to DVR everything. Like, well, TiVo is the brand, right? They still have DVR. If you have cable, you can still record stuff, right? Like, but I would watch all the basketball games on like Tuesday nights on TNT, the football games on every football game on Saturday, football on like everything. And then I'd watch a million shows because it all was just a distraction from my life, right?
Yeah.
And I basically at that point, that was the first thing. I was like, no more TV. I canceled my cable. I quit watching sports. And I said, I need to replace this, right? Like life's like a vacuum. If you take something out, something's going to fill the space. Yeah. So I intentionally said, I'm going to start reading books.
I did something similar to that. I completely cut out Netflix and video games for a long good time and Facebook. And I didn't touch a computer for a long time just to get like en route with myself.
Yeah.
And you really start to learn a lot about yourself and what drives you, what motivates you, what inspires you, and also what you need as far as like health and everything. And it's because you start realizing that your dopamine is coming from, screens or whatever, but you start finding other avenues to like kind of to fill that void. You know what I mean? In healthy ways. And books is a great way. Podcasting and audiobooks like saved me when I was at a very dark place in my life, when I was hitting bottom, and I started just learning was hitting those dopamine receptors and like really giving me like motivation. Okay, well, started connecting dots essentially.
What was the first podcast you like listened to?
Art of Charm.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, I know it is.
Yeah.
What was the first book that like made that like actually like rang a bell?
No More Mr. Nice Guy or The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks or Good Day. There's so many. The one that really inspired this podcast though is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
That was for sure one of the first books I
picked up. That's top 3 books for sure for me. There's so many more though. My audiobook list is just.
So I actually did this thing where at first some of them were like on my iPad, like I would read all these books, and then what I started doing was I've spent so much money on books over the last like 6 years because I actually buy every book now because I want to write in it. So if you came to my house and you pick up a book and you flip through it, you will literally see all my notes, all my thoughts, anything, and I do that.
Have you ever heard of this book, Limitless, by Jim Quick?
I've heard of it. I've not read it.
It has a lot of
Like
areas in there where he wants you to write.
Okay.
And this is one of the best books. It's on the top 5 list for sure, next to Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad.
That's like a newer book, right? Like
yeah, it just came out like 2 months. It's the only book I've ever pre-ordered.
Oh, nice. What I learned about myself was I hated reading, but what I learned is if I put a pen, if I'm writing in a book while I'm reading it, I'm like way more engaged.
Yeah.
And I actually, like, you could pick up.
It's a workbook.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I don't
point.
like necessarily do the exercises, but like I write in the margins, I underline stuff. I'll flip to the front and I'll write notes that I want to remember for later that I can just open the front cover. But what I noticed is like you could pick up any book that I've probably read over 200 books in the last 5 years. You could pick up any of them and be like, hey, what's this about? What'd you get from it? I will be able to tell you. But 4 or 5 years ago, any book I ever read, if you were like, dude, what's this book about? I'd be like, I don't remember, man. I don't know what this stuff is. I wasn't engaged. I actually had to figure out a way to be by which was the pen.
Yeah. He actually teaches how to read. He teaches how to read more effectively so you remember. By one thing is using your pointer finger across every line and reading faster actually engages the brain. Because it's more like in conversation, like we talk fast. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you read slow, you're thinking too much in the background, and so you don't connect the thoughts as much that the author is trying to tell you.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So that was one really interesting thing. I'm about halfway through right now. So, yeah. So going back to yours. Well, go ahead.
Well, no, we were just talking about like books. The first book that I remember. I mean, one of them is the Robert Kiyosaki, but another one is his name is kind of interesting. Og Mandino. And he has like a lot of books. I don't know. Yeah. It's like he's more old school, but like he was one of the first books I picked up, and his book was a game changer. I don't remember which one it was because he has a bunch, but they're all personal development books. Yeah. And I remember reading that on my iPad at the time, and like would turn to my girlfriend and be like, "Oh my God," and then like read her a line, and she'd be like, "Whatever, dude." Yeah. But dude, that was a game changer. I mean, that reading opened my mind to like new possibilities, and then
you realize how big the world is through reading.
Not like how big the world is, how much things that can happen that you never thought could happen. I think when you start reading, you realize like how smart you actually are. I don't know about you, but like in school I never felt smart. I felt dumb as fuck always.
I was so smart that I got by too easy, kind of one of those things. I basically learned to cheat my way through classes and stuff, and not do homework and get A's or B's. And
that was not my experience.
It was I just skated through school. You know what I mean? But through that, I lost a lot of discipline and like not taking things seriously and stuff like that. Another book. Have you ever heard of The Biology of Belief?
No, but it sounds good.
Oh, it
sounds really good.
It's really, really good. I can't think of the author's name right now.
I mean, I don't know I don't know the book, but like beliefs are like one of the coolest ideas because a belief is only a thought you keep thinking. Yeah. So when I have clients and I'm working with them and they're like, well, I'm like this. And I'm like, no, you're only like that because you keep saying you're like that. Yeah. Like if you think you are,
you are what you believe you are.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you want to be something different, start changing your thoughts, start thinking different thoughts on purpose, even if they're not true. Like literally start saying to yourself, I am athletic. Yeah. I am thin. I am wealthy.
I am is the most powerful words in the English language.
Yeah, and it's like as if it's now, and I think a lot of people.
Yeah, in the present tense.
Yeah, a lot of people do things like they'll make their kind of affirmations or their thoughts. They'll put them in the future, like I will become rich, and it's like, no, then you're gonna always be it's always gonna be something you're chasing, not something you actually possess.
Yeah, and we're back, and so we were talking about books.
Sorry. We're talking about books. We were talking about what were we talking about? Where the transition into personal development.
Exactly.
But so the books, the books like kicked open a door that got me thinking. And then I think what was really cool is my aunt and uncle are very successful like network marketers, like multi-level marketing.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of people don't do well in that, but a lot of people do. And the thing was,
Sometimes it's like a cult.
I mean, I think, look, anything aren't
For sure.
like, look at sports.
Yeah.
Why do we call them fans? Because they're fanatics.
Yeah.
Like anything, politics are cults in this country.
For
like,
sure.
Anything that people are into is
Yeah.
like we're culty about. But I think, look, there's really good businesses and there's not. But what was cool is my aunt and uncle live a pretty awesome life. They live a great life.
Yeah.
And I called them up and I was like, look, I'm unhappy. I'm unfulfilled. You guys were with me in Costa Rica. You guys travel all over the world. You live a great life. Let me learn your business. So this is the thing that I think the takeaway for people here is I didn't know if I was going to do that business or not. I knew I wasn't happy with where I was, so I got to try different things. So for 6 months, I like went all in their business. And in 6 months, I realized I didn't want to do their business, but I gave it a shot. And in the process, I started meeting people who were calling themselves coaches. And so it was like I said yes to a different opportunity, right? I opened a new door. So behind a new door is all sorts of new things. Where if I was like, I don't want to do that, like that's a cult, that's bullshit.
Yeah, you got to be open-minded.
Yeah, so I just like tried something new and different, which so many people are constantly like, no, shutting shit down. And I started meeting people.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a hell yes.
No.
You just have to check it out.
Take a look.
Do your due diligence.
Well, and with an open mind, right?
Yeah.
Like try things with an open mind versus like coming in being like, oh, this is probably gonna be shitty. Let's just find all the reasons why it's shitty. I went in with like a super open mind, and
because when you have those presumptions, you're gonna fulfill them.
yeah, those are your beliefs,
Typically.
right? Yeah, you'll make it reality. So I started meeting coaches, and like honestly, I tell people this all the time. The first coaches I met, I was like, these people are. Who the fuck is this happy? Why are people think so much is possible? These people are like full of nonsense. Like this is ridiculous. I hate these people. Like that was my first impression of coaches, because I was negative and I would tell people I'm a realist. Like I'm a realist.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
But realists are negative.
Yeah.
Realists are absolutely pessimistic people.
Yeah.
Because nobody's ever like, oh, realistically, this is gonna go so well. It's not how realists are. Realists are always like, it's always going to be bad.
Yeah.
Or like, so I couldn't deal with, like, now I look back, it's like, I couldn't deal with people's happiness and joy and possibility because I didn't have that for myself.
Yeah.
So I had to make them wrong instead of owning my own shit. I met 7 coaches in a course of like 2 or 3 months, all went through this amazing program that they had gone through. And they all said the same thing. This program changed my life. And
what was the program?
The program's called Accomplishment Coaching.
Okay.
And this is like where my mentors are from. But one of my mentors started this program like, I don't know, 20 years ago almost. But the program isn't just meant to help people become coaches. It's designed to be a transformational program. Like if you're going to help some other people, you better clean up your shit.
Yeah.
Like who are you to go out in the world and help people if you're like a mess? And I think the cool thing, and one of the cool things,
it makes you walk the walk.
Yeah, and it teaches you to not dump your stuff all over. So when people work with me, one of the things they'll say and they're surprised about is, you didn't tell me anything. And I'm like, and I get what they're saying, but what they're saying is, you asked questions that pulled the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Instead of me just going, hey, Corey, you should do this, you should do this, you should do that. That's bullshit. That's somebody else telling you how to live their life.
Yeah.
You need to figure out how to, like, not you, but like we all need to figure out how to live our own path. And so the program does a really good job of cleaning up your life so you're like kind of a clean slate. So I can sit with somebody like you or whoever and go and not kind of get my beliefs like splattered all over them.
Got you.
And
that's awesome.
It changed my whole life.
That's truly awesome.
And
that's a good way to lead and not without just like really like taking over and like being domineering, I would say. Yeah. That really resonates with me.
And if you think about people, like I actually recently got to walk down, I was on a hike with a bunch of guys and I got to walk down this mountain and one of the guys was a pastor. And I'm a spiritual person. I'm not religious, but this guy was a very, very, very committed Christian pastor. And we talked the whole trip down the mountain. And normally in situations like that, I would have been like a little turned off because a lot of experiences I've had have been somebody like trying to shove their beliefs down your throat, which like, hey, I don't have an issue. Believe whatever you want to believe, but like, I don't think it's
But
our job.
don't tell me how to believe.
Yeah, share
Yeah.
with me why you believe it. Tell me why it's important to you, but don't tell me that I should.
Yeah.
Like I think, and I used to tell people why they should do all sorts of things. I was shooting all over people all over the place, right? Until I got my shit cleaned up. But what was so cool about meeting this guy and walking down this mountain is he shared with me why what his beliefs were and why he loved the things that he loved. And it was like, oh, now I can see. It doesn't mean I'm going to go do it, but it was it was one of the first times I got to say like, man, that was like almost how I got trained as a coach. He's like trained as a religious leader like that. He's so clean in his slate that he can just say, hey, look, this is what I have to offer. If you want it, come talk to me. If you don't, that's cool too. And I think that's what a coach's job is, to be like a clean slate.
Yeah.
So that we can like have you shine. We're sitting here, people can't see this, but there's like mirrors, right?
Yeah.
And if you look in a mirror and it's cloudy and not clean, then the image is cloudy and not clean, right?
Yeah.
A way to say it is like, I think my job and what was done for me by the people in accomplishment coaching was they showed up like a clean mirror. They just showed me.
Yeah.
Right. So they put a mirror in front of me and went, hey, Alex, this is who you are.
Yeah.
And then I got to go, shit.
Yeah.
I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
I'm sarcastic. I'm like a womanizer. I drink too much. Like I'm not I could say like no one else. It's me. Like
yeah.
So that program changed my life, and that program.
So it gave you a lot of insight.
Like it was like it took the training wheels off. It like punched me in the face. It gave me the tools to keep going, and and then it was like off to the races. It was like steroids.
Awesome.
It was like I found a gym, and then they gave me steroids when I walked inside.
So where are you at now?
Well, look, hey,
Yeah.
I think this is good.
I think this is a good time.
Look, I think this would be a good thing for you to play off. Like, I think this is cool because we were talking about this. Nothing goes as it's supposed to go.
Nothing goes as it's supposed to go.
Okay,
including the lighting.
Like, life is a series of circumstances. Lighting goes out, batteries don't work. There's going to be a glitch with something, with some audio or whatever. You got hit by a car. You got in a car accident. The girl you were going to ask out just got asked out by someone else, and not she's available. Like, literally all that happens is circumstances, right? Like a pandemic is circumstances. Sickness is circumstances. You got fired is a circumstance. That's all life is you saying I'm here and I want to get there, and life is just throwing obstacles in your way.
Yeah.
That's life. Most people go, oh, all these things are a problem. Why does this happen to me? Why is all this shit? And when you create, and I want to say an empowered life, you see all these obstacles and you go, oh, this is in my way. Okay, what's the opportunity?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the opportunity? Whereas like people would shut it down. Like, oh, the lights went out. We should shut it down. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
So the lights are down.
Yeah.
Like, how many people don't start podcasts or whatever they're doing because they don't have lights?
Yeah.
And so they're doing nothing.
That was me for a while.
Yeah. Like
But,
all of us,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, you got to keep taking steps. One foot in front of the other is very important to getting somewhere, because if you just keep thinking about trying to perfect it, perfectionism has slowed me down so much in my life, but I've finally gotten to the point where I'm just like, screw it. I'm going to like start taking some steps because I'll learn through the steps to not make those mistakes as I go and not just try to perfect it and then have it perfect on the first try.
You can think about, there's something, a lot of people are perfectionists, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm like I want to say like a hyper achiever in the sense of like nothing's ever good enough. And I don't mean like a perfectionist in that sense, but it's kind of like I write a book and then it's like, great, I wrote a book. Who cares? I need to write another one or I'm a piece of shit. But I think what's when we think about these things like perfectionism or like me trying to achieve, it's this thing where we think it helps us succeed, but it's like, okay, you're going to win this little battle. I'm going to help you with this. Your perfectionism helps you win a tiny little battle, but it has you lose the war.
Yeah.
Because you can never do it perfect. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Like people that control everything, right? Great. So they get to control one little situation and they win that battle. But ultimately, if they're controlling, then no one else gets to grow or develop around them, and then they lose every war.
And usually when you're controlling down to, such a detailed manner, you're losing perspective on things around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you win. All these like behaviors that are in our mind like that, like have us win. It's like breadcrumbs. We get
Yeah.
we get these short-term wins, and then we lose ultimately with a bigger thing like having satisfaction. You know, my life was built on this book. Fictional authenticity is all about that. Um, I thought like I was living this authentic life. Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna be like this. I'm gonna be like this. I created the story of who I was, like we all do. We're like, this is who I am. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is how I behave. And then I realized like it was all made up from like influences and things in my whole life, and all that stuff was built to like keep everything like looking good and packaged and like smooth and cool and charismatic. And ultimately, like at the end of the day, I was not happy.
Yeah.
Right. So it was like it won this little war, but it was losing the battle. Though it was losing. Sorry, it was winning the little battle, but losing the whole war.
Yeah. So now coming into things, what you're running the podcast studio, producing other people's podcasts, and you're doing the coaching as we've been talking about just now. And then what is your next step?
Man, I have like so many projects right now. Running a podcast studio wasn't even something that I thought I'd be doing. It's kind of
sounds like a pretty sweet.
No, it's awesome in a sense of like my mentor has this amazing facility and he wants to build up a media company and I wanted to build a media company.
Yeah.
And so it was like, hey, let's help each other.
Yeah.
So he's my mentor. He supports me in so many different ways. And one of the ways that I kind of support him and his company is, and he published this book, like he helped me like make this a reality, is that I run the podcast studio. And what that means is like somebody comes along that wants to create a podcast and I help them with like the creative aspect, like who's your audience, what's your vision, what's your voice, what's the cover art going to look like,
what's your market.
Yeah. And it's kind of like I just support them to like kind of like shine more light on their vision. And it's super fun because I love doing creative stuff. So I host a couple of podcasts. I have actually 3 that I'm involved with, and then I probably produced like
what's the other ones besides Dream Mason?
So the Dream Mason podcast is my main. That's like my baby. I co-host my mentor's podcast, which is called The Coaching Show.
Okay.
And then I have a podcast with 2 other people that were like all hosts called Flip the Lens. Like I just love doing it. I mean, I love doing stuff like this.
Yeah.
And then I have a couple of courses. So I have a course called Fictional Authenticity. That's basically like this book in course format.
Gotcha.
I just created a course with another one of my mentors that's really about like amplifying your voice in the world. That right now it's not available to just general people, but it will be in the future. I love one-on-one coaching. Like all my clients are like small business owners, entrepreneurs, blue collar guys that have built like companies. But I also know that like there's so many people out there that need, support and help and like want to achieve more than they're at. So that's like kind of what's next is like, how do I build more programs, more courses, more tools that like everyone can have access to?
Yeah.
So people can actually have the like, look, I don't have all the money. I'm not Tony Robbins. I don't have like billions of dollars, but like my life is, I make more money than I ever made in 2020. My clients make more money than they've ever made in 2020.
Yeah.
I have clients that are getting married.
When everything's crashing.
I have clients that are getting married, having babies, living their best life. And I am too. And not to say that we're not empathetic and sympathetic to all the things in the world, but we're like, hey, we're going to keep our hands on the steering wheel and drive our car and control what we can control. We can't control everything, and I want to help other people do that because...
Yeah, the goal of this channel is to help people realize their personal sovereignty, which is what I feel like what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to say it.
Yeah.
There is...
Rely on yourself, because at the end of the day, that's who you got.
Yeah. And look, shit's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's like what we know. Shit will happen. And so when it happens... Who are you going to be about it? Are you going to be a victim? Are you going to complain? Are you going to whine? Or are you going to like make a decision? Sometimes I think of it like when shit happens, you're driving your car, right? If you like slip, like let's say you lost control and the wheel was like spinning. It doesn't spin like that, but let's say that it could just spin.
Yeah.
A lot of people like shit happens, the wheel spins and they just let it spin. Or you can like grab the wheel and make a new decision. It doesn't mean everything's going to be like perfect and bright and shiny again. But make a decision and then make another decision. And ultimately like your life is what you created by your series of decisions. And I like to say this because this is really important. I don't know who watches your podcast. We're not having this conversation for people that don't have their basic needs met. If you don't have food, air, shelter, water, if you're living in extreme poverty or like a war-torn country or even in extreme poverty in the United States, it's not the same conversation.
Yeah.
Like, right?
I agree.
You have some things that I'm not just saying like, oh, go grab the wheel of your life. No, that you have some serious stuff going on. I'm saying for people like you and me that like, hey, you're fine. Yeah. Like, you know, and we know
take the next step.
We know a lot of people that are fine that are complaining all the time.
Yeah.
And their lives seem like drama and chaos. And it's like, it doesn't need to be like that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think that's a great way to end it.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for, thank you for coming in. And you were really inspirational to me when I was cleaning carpets. And you were in a networking group with my boss. Yeah. And I like cleaning the carpet in your bedroom, and I like looked around, and I was on the self-development path, and I was like, this guy knows what's up, you know what I mean? And I told you about my idea for Surf's Up. This was probably like what last year in November,
6 months ago.
Yeah. And just thanks for like telling me to keep going. Like that means a lot, because that's the hard part, is like you get the idea and you like want to pull the trigger, and then you pull the trigger once, but then you like let it fall away. But like really like getting in the reps is what I need right now. And so thank you.
You're welcome, man. Thanks for hearing it. Like, you know, not for me, but for you. Like, I think somebody said this to me the other day, and I think is one of the coolest things. Like, we think to like change the world, we have to do some giant thing, which then has most people do nothing because it's too big and too scary. Everyone pretty much is like, I can't change the world. Yeah. But I don't know. But like, for all we know, you know, I saying keep going to you has you do that for someone else. And like, you only need to impact
it's a
one
ripple
person.
Effect.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't know what you're going to do with your life, but like, hopefully, like, how cool would it be if, like, 10 years from now, whatever you're up to, you've impacted a lot of lives, and you're like, dude, and we talk, and you're like, dude, you said keep going, and that made a difference. It's like, you know, and I could have just been like, dude, clean my fucking carpet. Stop talking to me. Yeah. I'm busy. I'm on a phone. I'm on a call. Like, it could have been like that, but it wasn't. So, thank you. And where can people find you? People can find everything about me at thedreammason.com. Okay. And then Instagram is inspirational Alex, but at thedreammason.com or www.thedreammason.com is like everything. My book, me, Instagram, podcasts, all there.
Got you.
And if people go there and they do on there, there's a free authenticity audit, which is this thing I created where people can actually find out if they're authentic. Because I think we all think we're authentic. Yeah. But like, I created essentially like a quiz to find out if you're authentic. And if anyone does that, they can get free time, like one-on-one time with me if they do the quiz.
Awesome. So that's truly epic. Cool. Yeah. And then also you can pick up a copy of Fictional Authenticity, I'm guessing, at your website or Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thanks, man.
Awesome. So Surf's Up, Godspeed, live loud, and peace out. Thank you for joining us. Surf's Up, fam. Corey here. Thanks for tuning in to the episode. We're still growing, so we're really happy you hung in with us and made it to the end. Remember, perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. Please like, subscribe, comment, and hit the notification bell, as well as check out our Patreon link in the description if you would like to support us. We'll be seeing you in the waters of life's next swell, so prepare well and exercise your freedom. Thanks for listening, and if you have an interesting story of your own, Surf's Up would love to hear it. Email us for scheduling at surfsuppodcast@gmail.com. Disclaimer. Surf's Up Podcast is for entertainment and inspirational purposes only. It does not endorse any of the activities discussed on the show.